it was all quiet before the universe began. And then once again, you will have to become quiet in order to get back to your original state from where you came. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviriyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The theme and the subject matter of our presentation would be divided into 3 segments. The first one speaks of wisdom knowledge, which everyone invariably will have to acquire in order to know the way back home from where you came. The second talk will be on, since you have to live in the world, the living of life itself is a spiritual exercise. And how to go about that process and the procedure will be discussed in the second talk, which will be on Wednesday. Then the third one, in the third one we will talk about a very pertinent and relevant factor of our own existence, namely love. Love is the keynote for you to get back to your original source. So these 3 we will systematically deal with. And today we will go through the acquisition of wisdom knowledge. So this is what you will have to seek for. First of all, before you get into any venture, any venture of any order, or to get into the spiritual life, you will have to know the way and to understand the whole process. And this can only be done with the acquisition of the necessary basic wisdom knowledge. You cannot proceed either in the living of life or in your spiritual life with ignorance. So the ignorance which you have has to be clear. And then once you have acquired the necessary knowledge, then thereafter you have to live it. And the way to live that knowledge, you may call it a knowledge discipline. First you acquire the knowledge, and thereafter go through the knowledge discipline. Why is it that you require this knowledge and the knowledge discipline? That's basically very clear. For everyone is beset with ignorance. There is ignorance within each and every one. This ignorance has to be clear. One is the primary ignorance. And out of this primary ignorance came all the other forms of ignorance. So, first of all, we have to clear this ignorance and acquire a certain measure of understanding and knowledge. So therefore, those who are questing for enlightenment, first of all, should acquire this basic knowledge. Then thereafter, with confidence, you will be able to live your spiritual life. And in the process, once you have acquired this understanding, then you yourself will know how to guide yourself. In short, you yourself will become and should become your own guide and guru. Otherwise it doesn't work. So you will have to guide and have this understanding and guide yourself by and by. As you proceed, things will open out and reveal. Now, when you want to cross or traverse a jungle in the night time, you don't require a huge beam of light to illuminate the entire jungle so that you can go from one end to the other end. A simple torchlight is sufficient. So long as you know the way, this little torchlight will show you the way. The next few yards it will be shown. And as you proceed further, then from there onwards the torchlight will illuminate the next few yards. And on you proceed until you reach the end of the forest. So too also in this spiritual journey of yours, it's a journey. It's an exciting journey. It's an interesting, exciting journey. So now, as we said, you require this understanding and this basic knowledge. And you have this ignorance within you. And the primary ignorance that you have is that you do not know who you are. Who am I is the crucial question. What am I doing here? How did I get here? And why did I get here? So these have to be understood and clear. So who am I? What is my real nature? Of course, you have got a dual nature within you. One is very clear to you, which is your human nature, which you are somewhat clear about or somewhat understand. But then you have another nature, which is your true nature, your true character of existence. And that you may not know. So therefore, the first thing is to understand, who am I really? Or what am I really? So the final statement, the final teaching in the scriptures is, thou art the divine which thou seekest with all thy heart. That is your real nature. That is your real nature. Now, it's a preposterous statement. It's preposterous. How can you be the divine? It's a little too much to swallow, too much to accept. But nevertheless, this is the final declaration and the basis of your spiritual life. This understanding that I am that indeed. I am that divine. So therefore, in the Hindu tradition, the final teaching is, the final instruction is, Tat Tvamasi. Thou art that divine. Thou art that. Not in your human nature, but in your real nature, thou art the divine. That's a declaration. So in this declaration, that's what a scripture is supposed to tell you. Because the scripture is that which comes and reveals to you what you do not know. That's the main purpose of a scripture. Of course, with your worldly mind, you may be able to know things about the world. But to know this profound truth, which is a declaration, then there is no other way other than the scripture which can come and reveal to you. So scripture, what will be the scripture, is a declaration given to man by God. God himself declares to you via a scripture about your true character and nature. So if not for that declaration, you will have no idea as to what it is. So therefore, in the Hindu tradition, Tat Tvamasi, thou art that. Then after it has been, you have been told that, and the same truth has been mentioned also by Jesus in the Bible. In the scriptures, in the 4 Gospels, you find Jesus telling, you are gods. The moment he said you are gods, he was stoned and chased away from the place. It's such an absurd statement. People did not want to accept it because they were used to other forms of worship. And when it is declared that you are gods, it's too much to swallow. So therefore here they felt that he is a crazy man talking, and they stoned and chased him out of the place. So even today too, if you go around telling people that you are gods, you are a god, they find it a little difficult to solve, to accept it. It's a little too much. Nevertheless, that's the truth of it. That's the basic truth. That you are the divine which you seek with all your heart. You seem to seek the divine for whatever reason. But you think the divine, so now, not having declared that you are the divine, in order to appreciate what it is, the nature of the divine is also explained. Nature, but its nature and character is also revealed in a few words so that you can have a comprehension as to what it is. And the best way to understand that how or in what way the divine is to look into your own heart itself. Look into within yourself. What is it that you basically want? Ask yourself this question. You are an individual, a human individual, but what do you really want to be? What do you really want? Could you tell me? What is it that you really want? You may want a God or not, that's a different issue. But what do you want? What is it that you really want from the depths of your heart? From the depths of your heart, what is it? You long for something. You know that you exist. That's very clear. But there is something which you are longing for, which you may have not clearly addressed it. But there is something. What is it? What is it? You know that you exist. But how would you wish to exist? Tell me, how would you wish to exist? Don't you want to have perfected existence? Don't you want that? To be self-complete in your existence? To be self-complete. To be healed of all your aberrations, and to become one, and to become whole, and to be self-complete, and to be perfect in all sense. Don't you want it? That's exactly what you want. And once you have that state, What will you do? Tell me, what will you do? Have you got anything else to do after that? No. I see the heads saying no. Yes, you don't have anything to do after that. Then what will you do? You will just be. Rest in peace. Rest in your glorious, perfected state of existence. Because you are now self-complete. You have become whole. You have become perfected. So God means perfected existence. This is what it is. Perfected existence. Whose? Yours. It is your own perfected existence, which is termed in religious language as God. And this state of affairs is your real nature. That's what you want. Perhaps if you were to explain the basics of religion in this manner, perhaps more people would be interested. They want to attain to this state. Don't you want to? You could, because that is your intrinsic normal state of beingness. And this is what the divine is all about. It is total, self-complete, whole, one, homogeneous. And this is the divine. Various terms have been used for this. Various traditions use this. But when you attain to this state, you are not only at peace, it is also full of bliss. Full of bliss. You are in total bliss. Now what are you looking for? You are looking for little bit of peace, little bit of happiness, little bit of joys. But when you are bliss itself, what more do you want? You're all bliss. That is your intrinsic nature. So it's blissful existence. So that is why the definition for God, as given in the Hindu scriptures, is Sat Chit Anand. Of course, when I was young, I was seated with my guru on the banks of the Ganges. At that time, we had a lot of rocks on the river. Now we don't find those rocks. They have been filled and covered up. But at that time, there were rocks, and we could sit on the rocks and sit down and discuss or sit and meditate. That was possible at that time. So he asked me this question: what is the definition for God? Of course, I said so many things. Then finally he came down to the statement, it is Sat Chit Anand. That means it is absolute existence. Of course, you know that you exist. It's absolute, total existence. And what type of existence? Consciousness. You are full of consciousness. If you did not have this consciousness, you would be as good as an inert stone. But you don't want to be an inert stone. So there is consciousness in your existence. You are conscious of your own existence. But since you are not conscious of anything else, there is nothing else other than you which exists. You are the totality of existence. So since you are the totality of existence, it is non-dual consciousness, non-dual awareness, Advaita. Don't imagine Advaita means that it is a textbook philosophy of Advaita metaphysical philosophy. It's a philosophy or a metaphysics. That's not what it is. The real sense of the term Advaita means non-dual consciousness, non-dual awareness. Non-dual. So until and unless you are able to maintain this non-dual awareness, wherein this duality doesn't exist, the duality of I and you, the duality of I and the universe, this is duality. This duality of I and you and I and the universe will have to submerge and disappear. And when it does so, then it is non-dual awareness. It is only this non-dual awareness which is called as Advaita. It is not a textbook philosophy. Keep that in mind. Like any other philosophy, it can be a Greek philosophy, Plato's philosophy, it can be that philosophy, this philosophy, but Advaita is not, as it is popularly advocated as a textbook philosophy, it is not so. Until you acquire this ability to maintain this non-dual awareness, wherein you begin to forget your own individuality, as I as the person, you must learn to forget this I feel. And at the same time, you begin to forget the you too. I and you get submerged. And I and the universe too. You forget the universe too. Then when you are able to forget this and maintain this non-dual awareness, then this is the way back to your original source. Non-dual awareness. So when you are maintaining this non-dual awareness, terms have been used in our religious tradition. Some people call it as meditation. Meditation, that's what it is. This non-dual awareness is meditation. Maintaining this non-dual awareness is meditation. Another word for it is prayers. Prayers is of two orders. One is when you pray with words and language. That is not the real prayers. Of course, that is an apology for prayers, when you use words and language and all. But there is a silent prayer. When you are in a prayerful state, remember these words, prayerful state. When you are in a prayerful state, you are in a contemplative state. You are in contemplation on the nature of the divine. On the nature of the divine, you are in contemplation of that. Another term which has been popularly and loosely used is a state of meditation. Meditation. And the remarkable thing about meditation is that the state of silent awareness, silent awareness. You become silently aware. And that's the only way you can become aware of your divine status, silently aware. At other times, when your mind is functioning, it has become aware of the things around you, of your mental process, but it has lost by it its awareness of its divine nature. Silent awareness. It's the most difficult thing to do, to be in silence, to be totally silent to the phenomena of life around you mentally. That is why you close your eyes, don't you? When you sit for meditation, the first thing that you do is close your eyes, because you want to shut away the world. It's an instinctive, natural process. And then the next thing that you try to do is you try to remain mentally quiet, which is rather a little difficult because you have a bubbling mind. The mind is bubbling with thoughts. So it makes it a little more difficult. But then, by and by, you can acquire this habit and this practice. It will come to you by and by over practice. So that is why we said it's a knowledge discipline. You got to discipline yourself into this knowledge, understanding that you have to be in silence. In 3 words, Lord Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita, reveals the character of this state. He says, Avyaktoyam, Achintyoyam, Avikaryoyam. That is the very nature and the character of the divine. Avyaktoyam means that it cannot be manifested by your sense organs or even by your mind. Avyaktoyam. It cannot be conceived by your mental process. So therefore, it has become an unthinkable something. Avyakt. By your mental process, you cannot conceive what it is. It is beyond thought. So, the divine which is beyond your mental process of activity, how to conceive it, how to become aware of it, and how to think of it. Now, the only way that you can think of the unthinkable, it's unthinkable. Because it has no worldly character or attributes. It's beyond all what you know. So therefore, the only way that you can think of the unthinkable is not to think. It's as simple as that. Not to think. By not thinking, then what is happening to you? You are naturally in tune with what the divine is. In tune with it. In tune with the divine, with your divine nature. Automatically you have become in tune with it. It's so simple. But most very difficult to be in that state. Because your mind is a bubbling mind. You know, when you have a water boiling, the water is in a bubbling state. There is energy there. So here also you have energy in your mind, haven't you? You have an energy in your mind which makes your mind bubble. What is this energy in your mind? Could you tell me? What is this energy? What is this energy in your mind which makes this mind constantly active and bubbly? It's your passions, isn't it? Your passions, your desires, your wants, your wants. That is why all the religions of the world advocate what? Don't they advocate dispassion? They all advocate to you dispassion. It's only for this reason. The less desires you have, of course you have many little things. You don't need to have a desire for that. They just come automatically to you in your daily operations. But if you have strong, acute passions or desires or longings, then it becomes difficult. That's the energy content in your mind. So therefore, this content has to subside. Has to subside. Of course, you require some basics of life. That's perfectly all right. That invariably you will get. It all comes to you in the course of your life. So you don't have to have anxiety or worry over it. So therefore, in this state of silence, total silence, What has really happened to you? You have got in tune with your divine nature. Got in tune, because avyakt means the unthinkable. The only way to think of the unthinkable is not to think. By not thinking, you have become aware of it, silently aware of it. Silently aware of it. And in the state of silence, silent awareness, you have got in touch or got in tune with your divine nature. Whatever it is, you don't know what it is, but you have got in touch with it. And when you get in touch with it, the healing process begins there. The healing. How does this healing process take place? You know, when you have a hot plate in the winter time and you have turned off the switch, the hot plate is still a little warm as you touch it. It's very comforting in the cold winter. Similarly also here, you have got in touch, coming with your divine nature. And the comforting healing comes there. The healing process comes there. And in this state of silence, because I'm telling you the total essence of the knowledge discipline. And in this state, this is that state which was also indicated in the book of Genesis, in the Bible, when it was mentioned that man was made in the image of God. Man was made in the image of God. Now, where was man's image made? Where? Where did God make man's image in his own image? Where did he do it? Where in you? Where in you? In you. So when you have arrived at the state of silence, you are spontaneously in the image of God. This is the whole secret. You see? You have spontaneously got into the state wherein you are in the image of God. Then what did God do further? Didn't he say that having created the world in 6 days, he rested on the 7th day? He rested on the 7th day. Not that he needed that rest, but he did so to show it as an example as to where you should also rest. Where you should also rest. And this is that place wherein you were made in that image of God. That is where you should also rest. So, with this understanding, your education is complete. And if you can rest there, be there, then you're on your way back home. And when does this transpire? When you are in a state of total silence. When you are totally silent. So that is why we said before it all began, before the universe began and came into operation, and along with the universe, you also came into operation. And before all this transpired, there was silence. That supreme silence. Therefore, you too will also get back to that state of supreme silence. In order to get back to that state from where you came. This is called, this particular state. You know, you can use many other words too. Like the prayerful state. What do you do when you are in a prayerful state? Not in a prayerful state, which is true prayers. Aren't you in a state of silent communion? Are you not? Are you not? There are two features there. Two features when you are in a prayerful state. You are in total silence. And then you are also silently aware. Aware. Of what? Of nothing in particular. Of nothing in particular. That's the whole catch. The moment you become aware of anything in particular, you have missed the point. You have missed the point. Nothing in particular. So this is technically called as nididhyasana in the Vedantic language, but it is meditation. Non-dual awareness is being maintained by you. So therefore, the first format of this teaching is that you have been told that you are the divine. You are God's. And this understanding is the basis of spiritual living. It's the beginning of the practice of true religion. Of true religion. To know who I am, what I am. I am that. And then thereafter, to feel comfortable with this idea. You know, it takes time to digest. You know, it takes time to digest a bitter truth, isn't it? And it also takes time to digest a good truth too. It takes time to become comfortable with it. So here also, you begin to think over, yes. In what way? You reflect over it. You reflect over what you had heard, you know. Reflection, reflect over it. Yes. And as you reflect, the whole truth will sink into you by and by. It will sink into you. You'll become comfortable with the idea. Yes. Then you are said to be a contemplative person. So, as you keep on contemplating, yes, in what way? Of course, the divine is that which is everywhere. That's why the word Brahman is used in the Hindu tradition. Brahman means that which is vast and infinite without any boundaries. It is everywhere for the divine. And not only is it everywhere, but it is totally present at every point. Remember this, it is totally present at every point, like a hologram, which totally exists at every point. It is self-complete and whole. So similarly also, it is totally present therefore within you too. Within you too. You are also a point somewhere in the universe. And within you too, the divine is totally and fully present. Not half present, but fully present. So if it is fully present there within you, you cannot but be that. You are that itself. You are that itself. But then, since it is there within you, it is yours. So God is centered within you. God is centered within you. How many centers do you have? Could you tell me? Could you tell me how many centers do you have? Or could you have how many centers? Of course, one center you know very well is the ego center. And you certainly don't want this ego center there. Because the bigger the ego you have, you are in greater trouble. You are a nuisance to yourself first of all. So you want to lose this ego center. So when you begin to lose your ego center, that is why the religions have come and told you to be humble. Haven't they? They have told you to practice humility. But they have not explained to you why you should practice humility. They have only just told you that it's a virtue. It's a religious virtue to practice humility. No, but that's not the real reason. The real reason of to practice humility is to lose your ego. You know, before that you had a formidable ego. You know, it was a formidable ego of yours. But now allow this ego to deflate itself. The inflated ego has to be deflated. Has to be deflated. And then, since God is there within you, God's center is there within you, how many true centers can you have? So God, only one. Because God's center is there, God is centered within you. So if God is centered within you, what should you do? What should you do? Exactly. You do nothing. When you do nothing, she humorously said nothing. without knowingly or unknowingly, she said it. But, yes, do nothing. Just be. Just be. So when you are just being, just be. The ego has not surfaced. And when you just be, you're automatically centered. Automatically centered. Aren't you? Just be centered. Just be centered. Just be centered. That's all that you have to do. So when you are automatically centered, you are automatically God-centered. Because God's center is there. Since it is already there, all that you have to do is just be centered. But now, what has happened to you? You have periodically become off-centered, isn't it? When you lose your center with your extreme likes, extreme dislikes, with your passions, with your desires, with your hates and with your loves. You love somebody. Of course, you know that when you hate somebody, you are not centered. When you love somebody, also you know that when you have lost your center. But when you fall in love, you have totally lost your center. This is the most dangerous thing to do. You are totally lost it. You have lost your center. So therefore, when you are centered, you are automatically God-centered. And then, what else should you do? Now, being centered, just go about living your life. That's all. That's all. Being centered, because you have to live your life. So just be centered and quietly and peacefully go about living life. So that is why this being centered is the crux of what Krishna taught in the Bhagavad Gita. He taught two things. 2 or 3 very important, powerful things that he said. One was to be centered. He said to be centered and live your life. So there the definition for yoga has been given as samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatva means a state of mental equipoise with which you live your life is said to be the state of yoga, or the psychological and spiritual state of yoga, in which state you become one with your divine nature. You become in tune with your divine nature. You are in harmony with your divine nature. So maintaining this center, be samatvam, state of equipoise, equilibrium, and live and function in the world. Lord Buddha also said the same thing when he said, the way to nirvana is by the middle path. This is that middle path that he is alluding to. The psychological middle path, wherein you are to maintain this balance and keep on living your life and operating in the world. Psychological middle path. So therefore, now by and by, as you keep on feeling the oneness of your divine nature, then by this process, you know what happens to you? When you maintain this awareness, we said silently you become aware of your divine nature. So two things. One is you have become silent to the phenomena of life around you, silent to the mental world around you, totally mentally silent too. And then you have become aware of your divine nature. Now when you become aware of your divine nature, what is happening to you is you are acquiring divine impressions. When I become aware of this flower, then I am getting impressions of the flower. Constantly, I am getting impressions of the flower, the nature of the flower, getting the impressions of it. Similarly also, in that state of silent awareness, when you maintain this state, you are acquiring divine impressions of your divine nature. Now these impressions that you acquire in this state, it goes and neutralizes all the worldly impressions that you have acquired so far. All the worldly impressions and the I impressions, the ego-based I impressions, which are there, they also get neutralized. So therefore, till when will you have to maintain this silent awareness? Till when? Come on, tell me, till when? Always till when? Always till when? Till the purpose of it is solved. When is the purpose solved? When the purpose of neutralizing your worldly impressions and ego-based impressions, till they are neutralized, you have to maintain this. And when these impressions get neutralized, then thereafter, automatically, the meditation has served its purpose. And after that, spontaneously, the experience of your true self, of your true nature transpires. It transpires spontaneously. This is its purpose. So till then, it has to be maintained and sustained by you. But in this process, you will begin to get deeply absorbed in this state. That's very good when you get absorbed in it. Because when you so get absorbed in this state, you will begin to lose your consciousness or awareness of your surroundings, of the surroundings. You will begin to lose awareness and consciousness of your immediate human self too. You will become oblivious to it. Then we could say that you have got into a state of samadhi, into a state of mystic absorption. You are so mystically absorbed that you have become unaware of the world around you. You have become self-absorbed. So this is the process which leads you to this state. And then one fine day, like a flash of lightning, the experience takes place. Like a lightning flash. It happens just like that. That experience. And so therefore, this knowledge discipline, based on these three factors. What are the three factors? First, you have got to basically acquire this knowledge that I am that. then thereafter feel comfortable with this understanding that I am that. Feel comfortable, resonate with this feeling that I am that itself. And how, in what manner. Various forms of reasonings have been given in the traditional scriptures, it has been revealed. So a certain amount of explanations and logical processes mentioned there, which will help you to arrive at this clear-cut understanding, yes, now I feel comfortable with it. But in order to become comfortable with this, there are certain preliminaries which you have to go through. And those preliminaries which have to be accomplished by you, in order to successfully arrive at this state, we will go through in detail in the second and the third talks that we will have subsequent to this. So therefore, this knowledge discipline involving understanding, then reflecting over it, and then meditating over the whole thing, meditating on your divine nature. On your divine nature, that's what you are doing, contemplating on it. And then, there's another thing which you have to subscribe to, and that is, you have got to understand the nature of this world. This world. Where is this universe being sustained by you? Where is it being sustained? This world is the input of this world, and is being sustained in your own mind. The world outside is the counter opposite of your own mind. Your mind and the world around you is totally linked together. It's totally linked together. If your mind is a bubbling mind with all your human impulses and human impressions, its counter opposite is the universe. Its counterpart. Even in modern science, they will tell you that when you see a particular an atom and an electron and a proton, whatever it is, that whatever you are seeing there doesn't really exist there. It is receiving an input from you. Even that little atom, that little fellow, is receiving an input from your mind to be an atom. There's an interaction taking place between you and the atom. So what is there is a mysterious something. Is a mysterious something. But on account of your mental interaction with that is there as an atom or a molecule or whatever it is. Similarly also, this entire universe that you are confronted with in opposite you is the counterpart or the counter opposite of your own mind. How do you say that? Of course, we know it by experience. In a dream state, what has happened to you? Isn't your mind spinning? Doesn't your mind spin in a dream? And as a result of this, what has happened? Tell me. What has happened? Because of the spinning mind in a dream,
you've created a dream world.
That's right, you have created a dream universe. The spinning mind has created three things. It has created a dream universe. It has created a dream individual, you are the dreamer, and the dream experience. All these things were due to the spinning of the mind, wasn't it? Which has got energized. But unfortunately in your dream, it is out of control. It's not in your control. It spins because you have energy and then you come out of that spin. But it's the mind which has projected these three. You, the individual, who was going through the trauma or the drama of the dream experience. You had a drama or trauma, either way you can put it. Right? And then that universe was there. It was all due to the spinning mind. In the waking state too, same thing is happening. There is a there is a waking individual, the waking universe, and then this entire waking experience. What a thing. It just simply boils down to this. So, therefore, if that be the case, then where is this universe being sustained? In your mind. And why is it being sustained in your mind? Because aren't you giving importance to this world? Though you are seeing the world, you are giving it importance, aren't you? Huh? You take it very seriously. You take your wife seriously, if not you are in trouble. And you take so many other things seriously. Everything has to be taken you take them very seriously. So when you take it very seriously, you are sustaining it. You are sustaining it. Similarly also, don't you take yourself seriously? You do. You take yourself also quite seriously. But even though you know that you are a fiction, aren't you not? You are a fiction. So long as you take yourself or the world seriously, you are going to sustain the universe in your own mind. So therefore, what should you do? You should acquire a little more extra understanding. Just stop taking that world seriously. Stop taking yourself seriously. By this process, you have initiated the operation of dismantling the universe and dismantling your individuality. Because once you begin not to take yourself seriously as an individual, you as an individual with all your ego is going to fizzle down, isn't it? If you take it seriously, you are going to sustain it. And if you take the world seriously also, it's going to get its influence and impact on you. So just look at the world for what it is, whatever it is. When you see a sunset, yes, you just say impassively, it's a beautiful sunset. When you see a flower, it's a fragrant flower. That's all. When you see a dog, it's a barking dog. Matter is all. So things are what they are. Things are what they are. Just look at it, perceive it, and walk away. So by this process, what happens is, you have initiated the process to dismantle the universe and initiated the process to lose yourself also. Because you're not taking yourself too seriously. You're not taking the world also too seriously. Because people often say, what's happening in the world? They say, my gosh, terrible things are happening. Who cares whatever happens? You want to only exit the universe. Don't you want to exit it? Exiting the universe is called enlightenment. That's what enlightenment is all about. To exit this world. So, in order to exit this world, all that you have to do is stop taking it too seriously. Just live life. Why have you to live life? Tell me, why have you to live life? 2 reasons. Come on, tell me one reason.
You don't have much alternative.
Exactly, you live life because you have to live life. You have to eat food because you have to eat food. Right? You go for a walk because you have to go for a walk. Otherwise your physical system may crumble down. So you just go through these operations. All because you have to live. And what is the second reason? Second reason why you have to live. Come on, tell me, second reason. Which is the real reason why you have to live.
Not to go back to what you know.
That's to go back
To what you actually are.
huh?
To be what you actually are.
To be.
What you actually are.
Yes, that is why you are living. To get back to who you are and what you are. That's why you're living. Then when you do that, the whole operation of your life becomes meaningful. Your living of life becomes meaningful. Now you know why you are living. For what purpose? This is spiritual life. All right, the second and the third factors which are very important, we will see on Wednesday and Sunday. Om Tat Sat.